Hello and welcome to the Hoop Troop Podcast. I am Matt O'Connor, and joining me as they do on all of our shows is my cousin Luke Drobner.
What's up, guys?
And my brother Mike O'Connor.
What's up?
And we're back. Last time we recorded, the finals hadn't happened, the draft hadn't happened, free agency hasn't started, Michael hadn't had back surgery. Nothing really changed for me, and I don't think Luke. But hey, it's a hell of a lot of other stuff going on. So fellas, since obviously tonight we're recording this on June 30th, free agency started 2.5 hours ago. So we're kind of doing this in real time as stuff is coming out. So we'll probably have a few interjections here, but let's start with the finals because that's kind of where we left off. Obviously the Thunder win in 7, kind of a surprisingly emboldened performance by the Pacers, which I feel like was just the theme of their whole postseason run. I know we were originally saying Thunder in 5. It obviously goes 7. Do you have any takeaways from this finals outside of like congrats to the Thunder? Like great job, you earned it. One of the best teams really ever.
Yeah, the production has to change for the finals because like I have distinct memories of like feeling electrified and enamored by the NBA finals. But this year, in no way was I excited about the games other than the fact that they were good games.
Well, that's the thing. The marketing around it, even just down to everything on the court, I understand. Yeah. The league wants to make more, like, it wants to drive revenue. It's going to do all the sponsorships. Everything is sponsored by YouTube TV. But why is there more YouTube TV logos than there's anything about the finals? There's nothing signifying that these are meaningful games. Like, it's just the strangest thing. Tough. And then we pretty much cyberbullied Adam Silver into putting those, like, fake Larry O'Brien.
CGI.
Horrible. But, like,
he should have just doubled down and not done that. He should have just...
They would have been better off not doing anything. Like, it was
gross.
But the bar is so low. Just put the finals somewhere. Like, and honestly, even, like, the logo for the finals now, the way that they have, like, the blue and red NBA, like the actual Jerry West logo, and like saying NBA Finals or whatever, like get rid of that. Just the finals. It's the finals.
Yeah, it's got to be like the Super Bowl is a whole event.
Exactly. That's the perfect comparison.
Same thing.
Like, and it's not that hard. But even look at like hockey, the way that they did it, their whole production that goes in. Like, there's so much buildup in the storylines and the way that they tell it before every game, and you get hyped up just literally just that first few minutes. And hell, this is the other thing they have to fix. None of the games start on time, regular season or otherwise. If you're going to make me sit there and wait for these games to start, make it count. Like, I don't need it. I don't need Stephen A. Smith yelling at me about stuff that's not even happening on the court. Like,
no, just say the game's going to start.
Yeah.
The game's going to start at 7:15 Eastern. Tip it, right? 7:14 and 30 seconds, they should be lined up.
Yeah,
they have
100%.
To be.
And just the combination of all of it, it's so frustrating. That said, the basketball itself was good basketball. I actually was thoroughly impressed by both teams, and I thought this finals was pretty good, actually, compared to some of the others in recent memory. Obviously, you look at what happened with Halliburton. That's kind of the big takeaway, I feel like, that everyone's talking about, and it really changes the trajectory of the Pacers, the Eastern Conference. Realistically, that whole finals as a whole, I mean, he was going off in that game 7. You never know. He
was going off the whole playoffs.
They could have won that game 7.
He changed the atmosphere around the Pacers. And I think we talked about Halliburton doing it, but Lillard, Tatum, there's a lot of big names that franchise-altering injuries.
Did you see Adam Silver said that they're having like AI look into that? Yeah. I mean, look, I get it. They're used for everything, and maybe it can kind of find a trend there, but I mean, I guess it can't hurt to sick them on it, but I feel like there has to be a better way to evaluate it.
I'd like to understand what type of private data the NBA has, because we can sit here and we can be like, oh, this is the number of minutes they played, but I'm sure the NBA is even tracking like practices and days off, and so
I'm going to throw it out there. I think there's something, and this isn't like, I know I had a huge rant about Tibbs the last time we did it. I think there's something to be said about the way that players prepare for these extended seasons and, the load management. I understand, like, you don't want to put too much of a burden on yourself, but I do think Tibbs' logic was you prepare, you have your body prepare for what it's going to have to experience. So when you're in these moments of these like high pressure, high octane settings where you're playing big minutes, you're gassed, you're exhausted, everything hurts. Your body's prepared for it. I kind of think that there might be some truth to that. The flip side, obviously, you look at his injury history with some of the players he's coached, so maybe not. But I don't know. That's just one thing that I look at where I'm like, maybe that is true. There might be some diminishing returns to the way that we load manage and we just kind of condition some of these players' bodies.
I think you do have to play 70 games to stay healthy. You're going to say something, Mike?
I think that I wonder what the AI will produce, but the game is being played completely differently. The game is so fast.
Yes.
They are sprinting. Like, I know that like the NBA doesn't try, whatever. They're sprinting. Everything is right. I'm with you, Luke. Like, I don't agree with that.
It's not that they're not trying. They're just perfect.
Everyone's perfect, and everyone's full sprinting. It's super physical. It's super fast, and I don't think the human body's caught up with how rapid and how intense the game is being played.
Yeah, it's hard.
So I think that's a huge part of it. I also think with Halliburton, it's just clear, and it's just so clear that anytime there's a calf strain, someone's going to be out for a few months or something. Like, calf strain is
you have to, yeah.
Training is officially a mark of death, and you need to stay.
But also, how are you going to tell an NBA player who has dreamed of that moment their entire life, you have a calf strain, you're not playing in the NBA Finals?
I don't blame him at that moment, but
it sucks.
I guarantee you in the regular season, we're going to. I don't know if it's going to be this season or not, but there's going to be more calf strains.
Oh yeah,
sitting out for time.
I think so. I think that's now. I mean, between even you go back, look at Durant. I mean, it's the same thing.
Durant, same thing. Exactly the same thing.
And so I don't know. It's brutal.
They rushed Durant back too. Durant was like, "I want to sit," and they were like, "No, we need you."
I know. And so, look, I don't know, and I don't want to just totally harp on that because I do think the Thunder deserve all the praise they've gotten for winning. Their improvement year over year from being a team with wins in the 20s, then in the 40s, to being a 67-win team is, I mean, that growth, especially at the age of their roster, is insane. And they're
continuing to get better.
Exactly. And these contracts they've had, they had a good draft, which we're going to talk about here in a second too. I just think everything that they're doing, the way that this organization is really, I can't think of them being bad in the next 5-10 years. I can't. They have too many assets, too many
But when I look at injuries, yeah. But that's
but even then, you retool. Like I think that they have more than enough assets to be able to adjust on the fly and make those timelines work.
Major serious injuries to your top 6 players, 7 players, they're fine.
Yeah.
And
but that's a big if.
But for Oklahoma City, it's like, here Shea has a calf strain. We'll just sit him out. We don't make it this year. That's fine. And I think we're in an era of NBA basketball where those little things is going to change who gets to the finals, right?
Yeah.
Like, just being the healthier team, I think we've seen that in the past. I think that's always how it's been. But it's like, okay, even if Miami didn't have one person, right, LeBron would still will them there. You see it with LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love getting hurt that year, right? So, but like this year, it's like one break and you're there, right? You get past the Celtics and you're like on heaven's doorstep. So
yeah, and I think a lot of that too has to do with the new CBA, and we can kind of, obviously we're going to talk free agency too. I think so much of it where in the past you were top heavy, but you were still able to fill out your roster with solid role players. Now, if you're top heavy, you can't fill out the roster the way you used to be able to. So like, you don't really have the ability to have guys will you there because they don't have the surrounding core to actually be able to like amplify them a little bit just enough.
The second apron kills you.
Exactly.
As soon as you get that second apron.
And so that's it. Like I don't think it's that realistic unless you're a young team like the Thunder are. We're going to talk about it. The way the Rockets are built right now and the way that they're spending, it works when you have stars on these young contracts.
Sangoon's about to hit that extension, so.
Right, but again, they're going to be another one that's going to be able to repurpose a lot of this on the fly, figure out who's worth keeping, who's not, and then you kind of, Durant eventually. Yeah, my God, Kevin Durant got traded in between the last time we spoke and now. But yes, like, there's so much going on.
I also think Spurs with Wemby, like.
Yeah, I mean, that's a matter of time.
So.
Yeah. But all right, so we talked about the finals. I don't want to go. It's been enough time has passed. Whoever's listening to this, you've obviously listened to other podcasts about the finals by now. Let's pivot to the draft, which was last week, so not even a full week ago. Who were your big winners and losers? If you had to just quickly...
Charlotte Hornets. They got shooters. I
like their draft too.
Concanoople at 4, I felt was a little bit of a reach. He's not a top 4 player in this draft, I don't believe, but he was the right pick for them. And then the McNeely guy they got out of UConn, I think that was a good pick late in the first. And then Kalkbrenner, I thought was the best center in the draft. He's just old, and that's why he wasn't getting drafted. Best center in the draft?
Wow.
He's ridiculous. He had 50 points
he's
this year.
good, but wow.
That's
some high praise.
He's very similar to like a Zach Edey, and Zach Edey got picked 9th last year.
Yeah.
Similar to Klingon?
Klingon too, yeah.
I mean, I do like him, don't get me wrong. I think the Suns having Malwatch fall to 10, I think he's going to be the best center in this draft. I think he is a little raw, don't get me wrong, it's a little bit of a project. But my God, the intangibles and his motor, he's so good.
Kalkbrenner is the best center right now.
Yeah.
With that being said, there's a lot of time that will pass between now and when these guys are done.
Yeah. I agree. I think they had a great draft. I think that the way that they're approaching their team now seems to make a little more sense than it has in the past. I know no one really wants to go there, but I get it. And like them, for example, them trading Mark Williams and being able to pull in more assets as a result of it, like I get it. I get the direction.
They just traded Nurkic to the Jazz for
Sexton.
For Sexton and a pick.
Yeah, no, they had
ridiculous.
Like their asset management has been really good, and I think I haven't been able to say this about the Hornets in probably since Kemba, maybe since Kemba was there, probably even longer.
They could be
that I've understood what they're doing. Well, yeah, because the East is so weak, but no, they're not going to be. Realistically, they're not going to be. Even this version of the Celtics is still better than them. Who are we kidding?
Okay.
It's true.
Yeah.
But anyway, I agree. I think they had a great draft. And we'll see kind of how else they fill out the roster in free agency and whatever they do. But I think that they've done a great job. My big winner that we've kind of been talking about, and I think it extends into the way that they've handled free agency because they made some moves today too. The Hawks, big winners. Them making that trade to drop back 10 spots. So they originally had the 13 pick, and they traded with New Orleans. So New Orleans moves up 10 spots.
Okay.
Yes. And so they drop back 10 spots. That's fine. I'm like, whatever. They get the pick next year that is between the Pelicans and Milwaukee. And it is the more favorable.
Unprotected.
It's unprotected, and it's the more favorable. There's a good chance. And no one, I know none of us know, and they're kind of implying that it's not going to happen. There's a chance Giannis isn't on Milwaukee and they're bad this year. There is a chance. Brook Lopez just walked. We're going to get to free agency, but
there's
he's
also
gone.
a chance that New Orleans is just awful.
There is also
they
that
have a
chance.
top pick.
These are two terrible franchises.
That's 100% happening.
And that's what I mean. I think, and also then you look at, they traded for Porzingis. They did a great job there. They just did a sign and trade for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Perfect fit.
And they gave up a second round pick for it? Nothing.
No, a second round pick.
It was a second round pick in cash.
Yeah, no,
ridiculous.
And they still have their mid-level exception open. They have plenty of room to work, and I think they have a huge trade exception too. So they have a few different ways they can sign more guys to their roster. They've done a great job.
Coach. Quinn Snyder's a good coach.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think everything that they've done, particularly with that on draft night, though, I cannot believe that. It's such a win.
It is. The Hawks are conveying to me that they are doubling, tripling down on the Trae Young version of the Hawks. And is that enough? In a weak East, for sure. I said it in our text, our Knicks team is so weird that I could see us getting season swept by them every time we go there.
I don't know if we get swept. Brunson's got
they're going to be tough, but
they are tough.
But I agree, it's weird because you go from another team that was kind of being a little incompetent for a couple years there, making some competent decisions like the Hornets. So interesting to see. My winner of the draft, and it's obvious, and I don't even mean it to be funny, is the Mavericks.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right.
One pick.
I keep looking at their roster, and am I being convinced that Nico Harrison was right?
But he didn't know. Like, he got bailed out.
He got bailed out.
If Anthony Davis doesn't get
Riggs.
hurt and Kyrie doesn't tear, like, this doesn't happen.
Riggs.
It shouldn't have happened. And those odds, like, he like absolutely fell into this for no reason.
Right.
Like,
he fell into it for no reason, but I will say the bench is amazing. Like PJ Washington being like your 6th or 7th guy is insane.
right, but think about this. Think about this if they didn't get Cooper Flag here. You're not preaching this. You're saying Kyrie's injured, Anthony Davis was hurt the whole back half of the year, and they got the 10th pick, like, or whatever the hell they would have had, the 11th, like if they didn't move up.
He wouldn't be here.
No, and that's why like
good...
everyone is like, and Nico's obviously running around on his high horse, but it's like, come on.
They did just sign D'Angelo Russell too, which I think fills their need at point guard.
Totally.
So,
No,
I do. I think they. You're right, Michael. They are winners here. It's just super frustrating.
It is frustrating. I don't want them to be good. I don't mean to show my hand.
No, I mean I get it. It's easy not to root for them. I'm going to say there are a few other winners in the draft, and we can dive in. Who are the losers? That's more fun because I don't mean to be rushing us through this, but I'm going through the stuff that's already happened so we can focus on like free agency and then what else we want to say.
Raptors, Colin Murray Bulls at 9.
Here's the thing I don't understand about the Raptors. Why does Masai Ujiri get to lead the draft and then they fire him? And they apparently he asked if he could do it and they said okay.
Yeah.
What are they doing? If you know you're going to fire a guy, why are you letting him make any more franchise decisions? It made no sense to me.
Maybe. No, you go, Luke.
They drafted a guy. He's like 6'7", plays power forward. Your best player plays power forward. What are they doing?
Best available, I guess, if that's your view.
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, they also
Malawatch would have made more sense, you know?
They have a...
take Derek Queen. He would have made more sense.
Yeah, well, the Pelicans made the worst trade of the century to make sure they got him, so...
Yeah, well...
No, I know. But, like, even a guy like, I don't know, Cedric Coward was flying up draft boards. Like, that would have made a lot of sense to me. Like, I don't know, just the Raptors, anything that they did, it just seemed like a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Maybe Utah is a loser.
Well, he showed up. Well,
he
give
did.
Ace credit, he's there. I mean... Look, I know you didn't work out for him and you know he didn't want to be there. It's not really like the NFL where they can have the leverage to say, like, we're going to sit out a whole season and, like, actually do it. No rookie's going to do that. None. It would be professional suicide. So everyone knew he was going to show up, so fine, we're going to draft the talent. And you're going to be here, and there's no way you're going to force yourself out before you sign that second contract because it's worth so much. So... you're going to be here for 7 years. Enjoy. Like,
it's really not that bad. You have to live in Utah for half the year. Go work out in LA. Go work out in New York in the offseason. You're going to be traveling. You're not even going to be there.
I fear for Utah that they picked a guy with a horrible attitude. Let's get over the fact that he doesn't want to be in Utah or whatever, and he's a good talent. Like,
but
it's sad what's happening to DeAndre Ayton, and it's his fault.
Oh yeah.
But like, his attitude is what's going to banish. He's going to be excommunicated.
He's going to be a Laker.
And then he's going to be excommunicated. Yeah. But I will say, to the Jazz's credit, the Walter Clayton pick I do like. And especially if they're not a team that's looking to compete right away and you're going to let him kind of mature a little bit more there, I think it's a good fit. And you just got rid of Sexton, so you opened up some playing time. I like it. Like, I think... at its core, take out the personality issues, because I do think that's going to go away. I think I get it. I just think it's a huge risk when someone is really already vocalizing how unhappy they are to be drafted there.
I think the Jazz have been big losers since the trade deadline last year. I sent you those trades with the Rockets trying to get more depth on their team. Mm-hmm. When I tried doing it with the Jazz, they had too many players on their roster. So, like, to fit the salary, so I traded 2 players to the Jazz and I traded Clarkson off the Jazz. And then they had 16 players on the roster, which means they would have had to cut one. And I think that's why we're seeing them sell their players for basically nothing. So Ainge held on to all these players like, well, you're going to have to meet me at my price. and everyone was like, no, thank you. And now they have to cut players, so they're basically just giving people away for free when they should have traded them for at least something at the deadline or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, again, I get it. I just think it's poor asset management when you're holding on for the home run, and it's not always going to be there. Like sometimes you have to just take the single, and now you're left, with I don't know if you want to say like a bunt to advance some runners or something. Yeah, I don't know.
They had to attach a pick to get rid of Sexton.
Right.
It's awful.
Exactly.
You could have traded him for a first at the deadline, at least. Come on.
Probably.
Right.
Albeit probably protected, but still. Yeah, you could have gotten way more for him.
Better than having to attach something to him.
Exactly.
I'd be bad at this job. Bad.
I'm going to go into one more loser here. The Brooklyn Nets go into this with 5 first-round picks. They don't do any effort to consolidate those picks. And they, to me, made some pretty questionable selections at pretty much each one of those picks.
They took a lot of projects.
Which maybe that's fine. Maybe that's your goal, is we're going to be bad for a little bit. They do have their pick next year because of the trade with the Rockets to get them back, or however they did it. So I get it.
I was a little surprised they didn't take Yakachonis from Illinois. He ended up going 20 to the Heat, which I think was great because he was a top 10 prospect, fell all the way to 20. The Nets need a point guard. I was surprised they didn't take him at 9. I was surprised again when he was still on the board and they didn't take him at 19.
Yeah.
So, and I watched
that's another
Danny
one
Wolf.
that it's going to be a Heat culture pick and it's going to suck. He's going to be good. It's
like
going to drive me insane.
4-4.
And he fell to 20. It's just how?
I like Danny Wolf. I watched a lot of Big Ten basketball this year. I think Danny Wolf could be like a Sengun type of player. I think maybe not as good, but you kind of see the mold, like the Jokic, the Sengun, the Sabonis. Not the most athletic guy. He's not going to be like a game changer on defense, but he tries on defense. And I think offensively, you get someone who has no weaknesses and he's going to continue to get better year over year. So I think that was a good pick. But other than that, I feel like they drafted a lot of guys. I'm like,
yeah,
these are guys who have to develop. Are these guys going to be in your team in 5-6 years?
I just think it's crazy to have you make all this effort to get 5 picks in the first round and you just don't come out. If you have 5 first-round picks, how are you not leaving that draft thinking, okay, one of these guys can potentially be a cornerstone? And I don't think
surprised they weren't able to work out like a Spurs deal for 2 or something.
And I get the Spurs not wanting to trade 2. I think they're big winners here, even though, yes, their roster is a little...
They have 3 point guards now, and 2 of them are...
But...
one of them's a rookie and one of them's a sophomore.
Okay, but they're valuable at those positions. And teams would absolutely take flyers on them and give up very favorable assets to get them. So I think more so than what the Sixers did in years past, where they drafted Embiid, Noel, what's his name, the one that was bad. Thank you, the one that was bad. Jesus. But my point being, there's little flexibility there with centers where they all need to play center. You can't really just kind of mix and match and say, okay, you two can play together. Maybe you can do this. It was a lot harder than that. When you have these guys that are kind of guard wings, you might be able to put them both out there, have them play to different strengths, and really kind of see what works and what doesn't. And in doing that, up their trade value and say, hey, it doesn't necessarily work for us. We have too much of it, but you guys could use it. I just think it is a valuable setup that the Spurs have. And then, I think ultimately I would have done it sooner than later. You move on from Fox and you let one of the young guys kind of be the Wemby running mate. But that all, again, I think they're in a good spot. And I get why they didn't want to trade 2. But, I don't know. You look at, I'm surprised the Sixers didn't trade the pick, to be honest, number 3. That would have been the one if I was the Nets. That would have been the one I was after.
I like VJ Edgecombe. He's
so do I. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean it that way. I more just mean I don't know what the Sixers necessarily are thinking.
I also want to. I like the Wizards. I don't know if I put them as a winner or a loser. I'm pretty neutral on them, but I think they're very young, and I think they're on the come up. I think they drafted balanced, a balanced roster. So
I think they were good.
Thunder drafting Sorber at 15.
I love that pick because it just.
I don't think
his role on that team. He's going to show up.
Nothing.
What Hartenstein's done in 2 years. He's just going to take that role. It's perfect.
But I also think he's going to need 2 years to be a contributor.
But that's my point. It's perfect. Like, they had a first-round pick, and they're like, you know what? We have the ability to take a project. Yeah. And I think it's such a good fit. Because you see how these other guys play, and obviously it depends on how they all, Chet develops and whoever else develops. But, yeah, Hartenstein, especially at the money he's commanding with how well he's played, at least in this first year and with the Knicks, he's going to be due for another big money contract somewhere. So, you're going to have to let him walk. And so now you're going to have another young guy. I think it's perfect.
I don't know if they're going to let Chet walk, Jalen White. I think they...
No. I was saying you're going to let Hartenstein walk to preserve the rest of that. The other pick I want to call out, and then let's move on to free agency, but the Portland reach at 16, going for Chinese
the
Jokic.
Chinese guy, Young Hansen.
Yeah.
Hansen.
Love his tape. Crazy pick at 16. No one saw that coming.
I think he was a projected first rounder, but late first.
I saw mid-second was the projection.
Oh.
Yeah. So at best, I think it would have been late first. So look, I get it. You want your guy, you pick him. But how do you not just see what the Pelicans just did and be like, anyone else want to trade up 10 spots and I want to move back and get a pick from you or something? You could have done that and still ended up.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think the Blazers really gave up anything, and I think they have a lot of guys on their roster right now when you think about Scoot and Shaedon Sharp, and they have Thibault, who didn't really play last year. He's still pretty young. He was only 25, 26, I think. So
yeah, I
don't know. I think they're drafting for fit as well, and we'll see how maybe they can play him at power forward next to Klingon. But
right.
I don't know. An awkward situation. There's definitely better picks out there, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just think, again, asset management. Would have liked them to see something, even if that's your guy, you got to try and at least do your, make the effort to move back, knowing that no one else has them on their board. Or maybe they had intel. I don't know. I just feel like it was a silly move.
Rich Paul made a couple calls.
Yeah, could be. All right. So, draft in the rear view, kind of knowing what the rosters look like, and I'm sure we'll touch on some of the other picks when we start talking about free agency too.
There was a lot of going to jail part of free agency.
Well, Karis LeVert certainly benefited from it because the Pistons just paid him $30 million over 2 years.
Luke Kennard just went to the Hawks.
I know. I just saw that and it hurt. I wanted it. That was my.
Landry Sharon's coming home, baby. Let's go.
I don't know what the Knicks are doing.
Becoming more and more clear, unless we are sitting here thinking there's some big trade coming. But
I'm now scrolling. Yeah, I think. I think the Hawks are really dominating right now. I know we mentioned some of it earlier, but obviously getting Kennard too. He's a great shooter, and especially he's just going to be coming off the bench. I think that's a perfect fit. So love that. But let's go to some of the. Let's start with pre-agency, which was a lot of extensions and things happened ahead of time. Julius Randle staying with the Timberwolves. Naz Reid staying with the Timberwolves.
Keep two. Naz Reid got a huge contract. Oh my god.
Yeah, Naz Reid, huge contract. Randle gets $100 million over 3 years, which actually I think is probably fair value. If anything, a little bit of a discount for everything he offers, but I think he could have been closer to 40. But yeah,
I think he could have got 40.
Yeah, exactly. So I think good for the Timberwolves there. LeBron opts into his $50 million player option or whatever the exact number is, and then Rich Paul puts out some pretty questionable statements about, pretty cryptic and pointed statements about his future with the Lakers. I don't know. The Lakers clearly they're done with LeBron. They're ready to focus on Luka. They're letting him kind of play it out. I do think whether or not it's LeBron's last year in the league, it's his last year with the Lakers. Unless he gets traded before, but
LeBron will announce his retirement. He's going to do a Kobe farewell tour.
He's easily getting he's getting the king treatment.
The ego is too big.
Yeah. Also, if I were him, I would do the same thing.
It is too big, and I don't know. Why would you sit on a team that you're not going to win on? The Lakers aren't going to sniff anything this year.
If LeBron makes $51 million on any team, they're not going to win a championship. But if LeBron makes 25, 30, I think that team has a better shot.
Then he should have opted out if he wanted to win, as you said earlier this week, Luke.
I did, yeah. If he really wanted to win, he'd act like it.
Yeah, not a ton of cap space teams though.
It's not about cap space; it's about winning.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry, I'm just scrolling now to think so I don't miss things to talk about. Devin Booker, 2-year, $150 million extension.
Yeah, ridiculous. The Suns continue to put themselves in jail.
That's a crazy number. That said, they have no control over their picks. They need to bank on him being a Phoenix Sun. And in doing that, you at least preserve your ability to stay competitive. And I'll give them, to their credit, they've had a pretty good offseason, I think. And the way they got off Durant, I think, worked. Jalen Green is a good addition. Even if you have to flip him.
7 shooting guards.
All right. Dylan Brooks, to your point, brings a lot of... He's a good energy guy.
He's a dog. I love Dylan Brooks. I think you can trade Dylan Brooks for more than what you got for Durant. Don't quote me.
I think that's crazy.
I think a team would be willing... I think a team on the cusp of greatness would pay for Dylan Brooks. If I'm the Memphis Grizzlies... I'm taking that Desmond Bane haul. I'm approaching the Suns, and I'm saying, let me get Dylan Brooks back.
That's another one. Have we talked about... See, I'm forgetting what we talked about before we got here. Desmond Bane trade. Huge.
Ridiculous package. What, five firsts? Cole Anthony.
But a perfect fit for the Magic. And KCP. Yeah.
KCP.
But the Magic get him, and they just signed Tyus Jones. So they pretty much solved all their problems, which was shooting and ball handling. Perfect. I think so many of these moves have been so smart. Granted, a ton of picks. Give up a ton of picks for Desmond Bane. What was it? 4 firsts and a swap or something.
What was that?
And two role players. A lot to give up.
KCP wasn't as good as what they wanted.
This past year.
He's 35 now? 34?
Is he that old?
Yeah.
Yikes.
But if you're trying to win, the Magic are, I think, now...
He's 32.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not that old. Yeah.
What were you saying?
I just think the Magic are trying to win, so they're thinking that those picks won't be that valuable.
Realistically, they won't, because also they are another team that fits the whole young star type model, where, now is the time to spend, because you have these guys on cheap contracts.
And it's rich for me to say it's a small market thing to do, because the Knicks did it for McCall Bridges, but I think a team like Orlando or other small markets need to pay a premium to make this stuff happen. So I just think...
It's also, are they going to hit the second apron if they have to pay Franz Paulo, Bane, Anthony Black needs a new contract, Wendell Carter, Goga Pizzade? They have a whole roster they got to pay.
I don't know, and I think depending on how they handle some of these trades and, and signings too, how they use the exceptions... It triggers the caps, and I don't really know those rules off the top of my head, so I got to do a little reading. But
in 4 years, if they're a perennial second apron team, how valuable are those picks really?
Not very valuable. If we're being honest, they're not.
I always think the Magic do a good job. I've never felt like the Magic are incompetent. I just think they're in Orlando.
Yeah. I think that's very fair.
Make sense?
I think that's very fair. That's not the most appealing place to end up. Unless you're a Lopez brother and love mascots. Other trade, let's talk about, happened today. Michael Porter Jr. to the Brooklyn Nets for Michael Porter Jr. and a 2032 unprotected first-round pick from the Nuggets for Cam Johnson. Look, great trade for the Nuggets. They open up their mid-level exception. They were then able to go sign Bruce Brown to the vet minimum. I think it's a home run for them. They are very much title contenders now, especially with how they use their remaining space. Pick, my God, that is going to be one of the most valuable assets in the NBA.
But they were what, a couple quarters away from beating who ended up being the champ.
Yeah.
So on the Nuggets,
and guys were very injured on their team in that series.
Michael Porter Jr. couldn't put his shoulders up. Yeah, he couldn't go like this. Yeah.
So I think home run, and I totally understand why the Nets do it. You take that pick and you're like, whatever. Michael Porter Jr., if you and those 5 idiots we just drafted want to just chuck shots all time, get after it. Have fun.
And then in 2032, you draft whatever fifth grader ends up being the best.
That's it. You just whoever this little baby is, is gonna be your king.
That Nuggets pick is gonna be insane.
It is. Yeah.
And they also signed Bruce Brown.
Yeah,
exactly. It's huge.
They did,
and they still have that flexibility.
Yeah.
I think across the board, I'm pretty thrilled with what the Nuggets have done. I think there's still more to come.
We're talking about trades, like the Celtics moving Porzingis to Atlanta and then trading Drew Holiday against his will to Portland, but they save like $170 million on their tax bill.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know. And like, I get it. For them, they also do have their pick this year. I know they've traded some just along the way here.
Also, kind of, did they take advantage of Portland? They got Simons and 2 seconds for Holiday.
I think it's the perfect flyer. You want to take a run at Simons? Fine. He's expiring after this year. If you don't like him, you let him walk. If you like him, maybe you keep him. Or someone would be willing to trade for him. You're gonna tell me a team like, I don't know. I guess the Wizards are starting to figure it out, so I would normally point to them. But a team desperate for shooting and scoring would want it.
He's a point guard too. Like he does like on ball stuff. So
I don't know. Like the Pelicans.
I think it'll keep them afloat. Like I don't think they're going to be bad, but they're not going to be Celtics good.
No,
and I think Simons will be part of that.
Yeah,
I don't think Simons can play defense. I think that's the only thing. I think he's great on offense.
He cannot play on defense. Yeah, he's not a good defender. I mean, he was the weakest link, and also like on Portland's side. Look, I don't fully understand it. Drew's contract is kind of looked at as a negative. You had to attach a pick with Simons to send it to Boston, which I didn't fully understand. But
they're also buying into Scoot, and you get a veteran leader for Scoot to look up to.
And their defense was third in the NBA for the last 3 months of the season. You just got rid of your worst defender in your starting lineup, and you're going to replace him with one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. You're committing to that. And I guess if Nico Harrison's right and defense wins championships, then they're kind of going for that mold.
The West is so loaded, though. I don't see them moving up in the standings.
They might be a play-in team.
But between Kamara and Holiday, I think they could put some teams in jail.
Totally.
Defensively.
Oh, without question. And if Klingon actually shows growth and they start to play him more, like they bought 8 and out, so now their centers are actually going to be. You're going to have legitimate centers playing all.
And they have Robert Williams, who's a good defender. He's just always injured.
Exactly.
Who else do they have at center? Do they have another center?
I will tell you. Hang on. I don't.
It was those 3 guys. It was Williams, Ayton, and Klingon. And Ayton was starting.
Yeah.
They do up Reith, but he plays power forward.
Yeah, that doesn't do a hell of a lot. But now they have
Hassan Yang.
They have Chinese Jokic coming. So technically. But like those moves. I'm literally just scrolling through, just seeing what the hell's happened.
A lot of people got extensions, like we said. Like Jalen Williams, not the one who should have won Finals MVP, but the one who plays center. He got an extension.
I like Luke's controversial statement.
He played really well in the finals. I think what happened was
he also
Game 7, Shea kind of took over.
And he defended Jokic pretty well. Oh, you're saying J-Dub or Jalen Williams?
J-Dub Finals MVP. I think it should have been Shea. Shea took control when he needed to. And
other than the 40-point game, that was when I was like, ooh, maybe we have, it'll be close. And then I think Shea kind of took over towards the end, did what he had to do. But anyway, to your point about Jalen Williams getting extended, played great defense against Jokic. Kind of, a big reason that they didn't advance.
I think Jalen Williams is a great fit for them at center. And I think he just makes sense there. I don't know.
I agree with that. All right, let's see. What else happened? Oh, crazy trade from the Bulls' end. Lonzo Ball to Cleveland for Isaac Okoro, just straight up.
Almost forgot about that.
What are we doing if you're the Bulls?
They're getting athletic. I don't know.
But they want to corner the market on wings who can't shoot or score or do anything. Is that their goal?
Yeah.
It's
Patrick Williams, Dalen Terry is not that bad, but Dalen Terry, Isaac Okoro,
Dosunmu can't shoot.
Dosunmu is okay. He's not a good shooter,
right.
but
fine.
They got a lot of athletes. They're going to run, and then Vooch might make it up and down the court, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Their offense is electric, though.
The Bulls or the Cavs?
The Bulls.
The Bulls offense makes no sense to me. The Bulls team, the Bulls organization, none of it makes sense to me.
Kobe White's going to be jacking up threes.
Yeah.
Montes
No.
Puzelis is going to have some highlights. Come on.
It's so bad.
They'll still pack 20,000 people into the United Center.
Will they? Will
Yeah,
they do that, Luke?
They always do.
How do you like
They
that for
always
the
do.
Cavs?
Huh?
How do you like it for the Cavs?
I think it makes sense for the Cavs.
Yeah.
Because they lost Ty Jerome.
Yeah, and I
Lonzo
think
has a high IQ.
I think that's exactly what they need, is just another. And I think what really exacerbated it was when Garland was hurt, particularly in the playoffs. I think they really felt that. You didn't have that calming presence on the court. Look, Lonzo comes with his flaws. He's injury prone. He's gotten better at shooting. Like, his shot has become way more consistent, thankfully. I just think, it's really going to be the injuries that hold him back. But if you have him in this backup role where you're a team that's going 10 deep, you don't have to ask that much of him other than, be a floor general for 15 minutes a game. I think that's perfect.
I think he's on a very earn it type of contract too right now. I don't think he's that expensive.
Right.
And I think with the injuries, he had a super serious knee injury, but they had to rebuild his whole knee. So not really great.
All right. Other one we have James Harden back to the Clippers, $81.5 million over 2 years.
He's just restructured. He took $10 million less, didn't he?
Yeah. He declined his $36.3 million option. Intends to sign $81.5 over 2 years. So actually more.
I thought he was projected to make $54 million.
Yeah.
I guess I'm crazy.
Another one. I was
going
to say another one staying put. Bobby Portis, 3 years, $44 million with the Bucks.
What
Jabari
about Duncan
Smith
Robinson?
with that huge extension, but
Duncan
at a
Robinson
discount.
opting out.
Yeah, I don't understand that. He's never going to see that money anywhere.
But you're he's not making $20 million anywhere. Do you think he could get a 4-year, $44 million contract somewhere? And how does that benefit you as a player?
I guess it depends what you value.
Also, maybe he was just tired of Miami. He's this place is crazy.
I think I could see that. I think that's been so toxic that it really wouldn't shock me. Big winners of the offseason are clearly the Houston Rockets. Are we just going to say that's our very much our home run? Because I'm just getting
Dorian
things.
Dorian Finney-Smith for what it was 12 a year or something like that.
Yeah, not a lot. Not even the full mid-level. You obviously trade for Durant. You signed Jabari Smith to that extension that's team-friendly. He easily could have waited and pushed and bet on himself, and he didn't. You re-sign core vets, and you have now added... you brought back in those core vets, I look at it as Steven Adams. You just brought in Clint Capella. You, just everything that they've done... Bring back Van Vliet. Bring back Jeff Green.
Didn't someone post that they don't have enough money for Capella, so there's something going on?
It's going to be a sign and trade of some kind. They're going to have to move money. So far, the financials don't work. Ultimately, I'm going to assume Whitmore is probably gone. But if you're building out your roster in a certain way, that's a casualty you can live with, especially if you bring in Finney-Smith. What would Whitmore's role have really been if you look at the other wings they already have on the roster?
I think Jock Landale is making $8 million to sit on the bench.
Right, so you package those things and you live with it. So yeah, I don't know. I think everything they've done, I've definitely been pretty into. Other team with some returning guys, Jaren Jackson Jr., 5-year, $240 million extension. Santi Aldama, 3-year, $52.5 million extension.
I can understand why they traded Bane. Their roster's getting expensive.
Cam Spencer back to the Grizzlies, 2 years, $4.5. Not the end of the world. They did lose Jake LaRavia, though.
They traded him. They traded him to Sacramento in the middle of the year.
Oh, they did. You're right. You're right. My bad. Cole Anthony, they're going to either buy out or trade, it looks like.
I think he has trade value. I think he'll get traded somewhere, no? I think they said they were trying to work out where he wants to go.
Yeah, maybe. All right, back to teams I'm dunking on. Trey Jones, 3 years, $24 million to the Bulls. Actually like that contract. Hate the Bulls, but good for them on that. Let's see. Ty Jerome, we mentioned. He's now with the Grizzlies. 3-year, $28 million. They're another one that I think the money doesn't work, so they have to get rid of Cole Anthony somehow. In one of these, I don't know, whatever, they're going to find a way. Okay. We're also getting news right now. Breaking news. Free agent center Mason Plumlee has agreed to a 1-year, $3.6 million deal with the Charlotte Hornets. Cool.
Oh God, millionaire. Let's
Wow.
go.
Yep. Plum Dog.
They needed a center, so
Yeah, returns home. Well, not home, but he's played there before.
He went to Duke or he went to UNC?
He played for the Hornets.
But he went to Duke.
Went to Duke, yeah. All right, let's see.
Doesn't he have a brother who played too? He also went to Duke.
All three.
All three.
Yeah. Kevin Porter Jr. back to the Bucks, 2 years, $11 million. I'm going to say
it's not bad.
Does not move the needle for Giannis.
What is Giannis liking right now?
That's what I mean. They haven't done anything.
Loyalty. Giannis is loyal to a fault.
Bobby Portis, I actually think is valuable, and I think that contract is team friendly, around $15 million-ish. I think that's a good deal. The rest of it, I don't know. And losing Brook Lopez, don't love that.
I when they extended Brook Lopez on that 2-year, $40 million deal, I was like, that's a mistake. I don't think they should have done that.
Nope.
And I think they should have said, Giannis, you play center now.
But anyway, so speaking of Brook Lopez, 2-year, $18 million deal to the Clippers. I like what the Clippers are doing. I'll say it. I'll be very vocal. I think that they're in a good spot.
The vibes are good in Clipperland.
And if they get Chris Paul, because the Chris Paul rumor is now between the Suns and the Clippers, they get Chris Paul. I like it. I like what I'm seeing.
Why would Chris Paul want to go back to Phoenix? Isn't it this? Oh, it's not the same people. Is it different?
Well, no, they've changed ownership since he left.
Mm.
He wasn't there with Ishbia, to my knowledge. Okay, let's see. Other ones we have Tyus Jones to the Magic. I know we mentioned Luka Garza to the Celtics to be their center since they don't have a center anymore because Luke Cornett for 4 years, $41 million to the San Antonio Spurs.
The Celtics also drafted that guy out of Kentucky who I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
He's a very do-it-all center.
It's just very clear they're punting on next season. And honestly, good for the direction from Brad Stevens there. I support that.
They're going to chuck up so many threes. Oh, my God.
I think I've hit on most of these deals now. Am I missing anything major? Jordan Clarkson got bought out. Nick Batum, $11.5 million back to the Clippers. 2 years, $11.5 million, excuse me. Joe Ingles back to the Timberwolves.
What I want to know is who's still available? Who are the top remaining free agents?
Sounds like Horford is getting a lot of love from a lot of different teams.
Horford, Schroeder's still out there.
Oh, Schroeder signed. Kings.
Oh, where do you go?
Kings. Let's see. There's got to be a little NBA free agent.
There was a thing on ESPN, but it was just the 10-minute delayed Shams updates. It seems like someone from ESPN's watching Shams' tweet and then just updating their blog.
I've seen random names like Trey Mann, Chris Boucher. Those are some pretty random free agents.
Yeah. I think Ayton is obviously once he clears waivers, once Jordan Clarkson clears waivers. There's a few guys like that had buyouts. You're right. You mentioned Malik Beasley. Whatever the hell is going to happen with him, I mean, he's probably going to jail, to be honest. But
I don't think anybody's touching him until he gets cleared.
Exactly. My God, I'm looking at this right now. Malcolm Brogdon could be a sign and trade type guy.
What do you think about Kevon Looney leaving Golden State 2 years, $16 million to the Pelicans?
Weird, but go get your bag, I guess. Congrats. I don't know. I'm not sure I love it. I think now there's a bigger question too around Dinwiddie. Now that D'Angelo Russell went to the Mavericks, I don't think they'll be able to get him back. I don't know. Otherwise, there's not a hell of a lot unless we're looking at
Did we say Caris LeVert to Brooklyn? To Detroit?
Yeah. We kind of said that in the context of Malik Beasley being a bad guy.
I feel like now that he actually did get caught, everyone's like, look, I said it a couple months ago. But also he dated one of his teammates' mom.
Not a
Isn't
good
that
guy.
a red flag?
Well, that was who was it?
Scottie Pippen Jr. when they were both in LA.
Yeah, that too.
Did you do something else?
Who was I gonna say? It was LeBron's teammate, Delonte West, right?
I don't know if that actually happened or people just joking.
I don't know. But it is funny that that's like the rumor.
LeBron's got a better PR team, I guess.
I am seeing Horford getting a ton of interest here. It looks like, including the Celtics, Warriors, Knicks, Nuggets, Cavs, and Lakers.
Who's laughing at all of my Matt? Every time I say Landry Shamet's still available, you laugh at it.
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at it because I know you love him. I do think the Knicks need to bring him back. I don't disagree with that. I just think it's funny your commitment to him.
Every time he stepped on the court last year, I was like, Landry Shamet is great. I love him.
I mean, he was good, and he should have been playing more. I don't disagree with these things.
He got injured. If he never dislocated his shoulder, it would have been a different story.
Yeah, probably.
Horford to the Clippers. Clippers on that list.
I mean...
Oh, Lakers,
yeah. Oh, what do we got here? All right,
Whoa,
Taurean Prince
chance.
back to the Bucks. 2 years, $7.1 million.
Okay, I like
Giannis
that.
Giannis is so out of there. Why am I sticking around if I'm him?
The deranged Knicks fan.
No, whether it's like I think again I'm gonna die on that hill. The Spurs, but why? Like if I'm him, why am I sticking around? And I understand it's the first 4 hours of free agency. A lot can change, but like, what the hell am I confident about that team? Nothing.
I'm confident that Doc Rivers will get us a playoff berth, but not a championship.
Ew. Pass. I think there's too many shoes that need to drop. I think the Lakers are clearly waiting for Ayton. I don't know what else they're going to do. They brought, Laravia is the only move they made so far.
I like Laravia.
Whatever pressure LeBron is going to... No, I agree. I think Laravia is good. Especially for the 2 years, basically $10 million they got with him.
I think it opens up them trading...
I love the live updates.
No, the problem is when I get because I have the Shams notifications on, but sometimes when they come in, I only see like the highlights of words, and this tweet is annoying because it's clearly quoting it, but when you look on my phone, you can't see that. But it says Bucks officials negotiated the deal with Clutch Sports CEO Rich Paul tonight. That's how the tweet starts. I'm like, what deal? But I'm realizing it's Taurean Prince.
Prince.
Yeah, he does have a play. They gave him a player option. Why is Taurean Prince getting player options? What are we doing?
7-1.
Giannis, get the hell out of there. And apparently the Bucks are interested in Ayton, I'm seeing.
Doesn't make sense.
This all sucks. I'm tired of this.
I like Laravia. I think Laravia on the Lakers opens them up to trade Rui or Vanderbilt. I guess they just lost Finney Smith, but...
They need wings is the problem. So I get bringing in Laravia. I think that fits.
He's not a good shooter, Laravia. I think he can shoot, but I think he's one of those guys where you're you leave him open to shoot, you know?
Yeah, and I think the same thing that happened last year is going to happen this year. There's this initial rush, but the reality is not a lot of teams have a lot of money. And some of these free agents that theoretically should be paid more are going to have to settle for a 1 year lesser amount. And I think some teams are going to be patient and try and do that. For example, you're raving about Landry Shamet. The Knicks got him for peanuts at the end of free agency last year. There are guys like that I think are going to slip through the cracks, and teams are going to be able to pounce and say, okay, we can plug our holes at a discount. Literally because the league doesn't have. There's just no money anywhere.
My feeling is you look at the Taurean Prince deal, 2 years, $7.1 million. Sure, it's a player option on the second year, but that's a good deal, 2 year deal. If he wants to stay, he gets to stay. You build a little chemistry. You get him on a cheap deal.
He also just loves Darvin Ham, and we all know
he does love Darvin Ham.
Yeah, which is again not great.
Everybody's got their people.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what else we got here. Nothing. Just the ones we've talked about. We didn't talk about. Luke, an absolute favorite of yours we didn't talk about. This was a couple days ago. Jordan Poole trade.
I like Jordan Poole.
I know you like him,
but New Orleans. It's going to be completely run and gun.
I think it makes more sense than him on the Wizards. I think
Why? He's only how old is Jordan Poole?
I think they needed a veteran presence. I think them having CJ, Chris Middleton, and Marcus Smart with their gaggle of young kids that they've brought in, I think is perfect. I think they have the right mix of vets and leadership. They also do have Malcolm Brogdon, though it kind of sounds like they're going to do a sign and trade with him rather than just bring him back, which, again, whatever, that's fine. But I think they're kind of they're following the model of what the Knicks did a few years back, where they had no one, they had just like young guys, and they started bringing in leadership vets, the Taj Gibsons of the world, and like slowly start to build an identity and like basically raise these young kids into something, being like actual like trusted pros. You look at, the Emmanuel Quickleys, the RJ Barretts, that's kind of what the Knicks did. Yeah, all right, are they all-stars? No, but they're solid players in the NBA. And then you go from there where you make your acquisitions to get a Brunson and ultimately go get Cat or however you want to do it. Like, they'll be in that market later on. But for now, I get it. I see the vision with what they're doing.
I just don't think... I think Poole was the odd man out, and I hate that. He was just a little too old and a little too good to stick around on the Wizards.
There's only so many shots to go around, though, and I don't know that I want to give him my shots. It's not like the Brooklyn Nets with Michael Porter Jr. now, where I'm saying you can chuck as many shots as you want, Michael. You can't.
But, I mean, it's the same thing in New Orleans, right? You got Zion, you got Trey Murphy, you got Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
I don't know who else they have.
They're another one that I wonder what they're going to do with Herb Jones or Trey Murphy. I feel like there was too much smoke around them potentially trading one or both of them. I would like to see that happen.
I think it starts with Zion. I think right now you think about teams trading for one of those guys, and they might give you a good deal. But I think you can create a bidding war by first trading Zion for anything, and then teams are going to come in and say you just traded Zion. What does that mean? Who else is bidding on Herb? Who else is bidding on Trey Murphy? Right. And you can be like, I don't know. Maybe you should bid a lot and find out.
I get it, but I don't like the Pelicans.
I also think their roster is in no man's land.
Yeah.
Even if you have Zion, what's your ceiling?
They need a little bit more out of him before trading him. They're not going to. And also, Joe Dumars is horrible, and they traded that pick. I just thought about the pick again, and I'm getting angry.
Zion needs to become an all-NBA player if they want to go anywhere. And, quite frankly, here we are in, year 6? It's not happening.
No, he's not reliable. He's proven he's not reliable.
I swear to you, the Pelicans are just nervous about moving on from him because they don't want him to be good somewhere else. That's what it feels like. That's definitely not the case, but it feels like it.
I think Joe Dumars came in and was like, I can fix him, and he obviously can't.
I don't think there's any fixing him. I think he was outstanding in college, and then the money hit him at 19. Yeah, I don't know. How would my life be different if at 19 someone handed me $100 million? I'd be a loser.
Work. You weren't handed. You're being paid a salary because you work. He's not working. That's what it.
But it was all guaranteed money, right? If my company, if I got a job offer at 19 and they were you're guaranteed money for 4 years. At 19, I'd sit around and play video games all day, and I wouldn't show up. I don't know. I just, even then, it wasn't even his employer who was giving him all that money, right? Nike gave him $80 million just in case if he panned out to being an all NBA player.
I am seeing now 40 seconds ago, New York Post, assuming he clears waivers and the deal is finalized, the Knicks would be getting Jordan Clarkson for the veterans minimum.
Okay, that's good.
That's good because then it leaves open the mid-level exception, which I think they need to use.
I think we need to use the mid-level exception on a forward because I think forwards are harder to come by than guards.
Or you could space that out across a couple players. I mean, you could do Yabusele. You could go after, I don't know, a few different.
Yabusele.
Yeah. So I think that they can be selective there, and in doing that, it's just more tradable salary. I think you do want to use that whole exception if you're the Knicks, just because you never know what you're going to want to do at the deadline. I'm looking at this and I'm just upset over Kennard being gone. He was the one I wanted.
trying to figure out who's still available.
Like pretty much Al Horford.
Brogdon, Turner, Tim Hardaway Jr.,
Yay.
Duncan Robinson.
Bring Tim Hardaway Jr. back. Let's get 3 stints on this team.
Would you go for like a Trey Lyles?
I would not.
Would you sign and trade for Kuminga?
I would not.
How about a Dougie McBuckets?
I would not. Although bring him home. Once a Nick, always a Nick.
Okay. I don't know much about Jordan Clarkson. Like, is there an attitude issue? Does he want to run a lot? Like, is he
No, he's gonna be another. He's gonna play off the bench. He's gonna come. He's gonna try. He's gonna be scoring off the bench.
But are we going to put his name like Campaign? Like, we hated Campaign because he was just.
I don't know if
he's better than Campaign. He's better than Campaign.
We say that, but
he's a little more disciplined than Campaign.
Is he?
I view him that way from his years in the NBA.
I think the most prominent memory I have of Jordan Clarkson was him chucking up shots at MSG and Mike Breen being like, "What is he doing?"
All right, but that could be a one-off. Everyone gets there. Everyone gets embarrassed by Breen every once in a while.
I always associated Jordan Clarkson with being good, so I'm hoping that.
I think he is good. I think he's probably a little bit more sane than Campaign. I feel like Campaign would come into the games and he'd try to take over the game, whereas I think Jordan Clarkson could probably fit into a rotation a little better, especially after playing in Utah. They had so many guys trying to get so many minutes. It wasn't like he was just out there running around all game chucking up shots. So
yeah,
and I think the Utah Jazz coach Will Hardy, I think he runs like a system. So
no, he does. All right,
is Amir Coffey still available?
Who
this
cares?
Is a shooting guard? He's big. I don't know. How tall is he?
Trash.
I think he shot like 50% from 3.
Trash. Pass.
Big Ten legend. He's 6'7". Come on.
Yay.
You can play power forward. He shot 41% from 3 last year, and he's 6'7".
Yeah, but you hardly play. You can't be a reliable contributor. I don't think
he played 24 minutes last year. He scored 10 points a game.
It's shocking, actually. I would have figured it was a lot less.
No, he's pretty good.
All right, I stand corrected. I'll take the L. I still wouldn't want him. Pass. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other news. So, does anyone else have any other quick hits before we wrap this one up? Because I am going to edit this and get it out tonight. That way, no news breaks and we're like up to speed before the morning. When if I were to release tomorrow morning and there's so much other crap that comes out, at least our timestamp shows that we sent this out at the right time.
I mean, the only thing I have left is a call out to Leon Rose. Hire a head coach.
Do something. Yeah, please, still have a gun.
It sounds like why are we not just fast forwarding? He's going to hire Mike Brown, and we know it, and he should just do it already.
Because they want Jason Kidd, and they're just waiting for Jason Kidd and lusting for Jason Kidd.
So that's bad.
Yeah.
Mike Brown's not a bad coach.
No, I like the idea of bringing in Mike Brown. I think they just need to focus on filling out their staff a little bit better, and Mike Brown needs to be open to suggestion from assistant coaching, which is something that I don't think Tibbs really was. Tibbs ran his system his way and he didn't budge. If they have this open concept where they're willing to experiment with both the roster and with scheme, I think they're perfect.
They're literally only hiring a coach that says they'll do that.
I know.
That's 100. That's 100% happen.
Yeah. Then I'm fine with it. And I do think bringing in a veteran coach like Mike Brown, who has a lot of, especially postseason experience, I think it's a good fit. Because there's a lot of pressure on whoever takes this job right now, and a first-year head coach, it's a little worrisome. All right. Well, on that note, it sounds like we don't have anything else.
Nope.
All right. Well, then, for all of our listeners who've made it this far, thank you for tuning in. This is the Hoop Troop Podcast. Join us next time for more basketball.